Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo, and today I'm bringing you that secret deck profile that you've all been wanting. This is the Aquaman deck, otherwise known as Mermail Hero. Now, first of all, excuse my voice, I'm a little bit under the weather just because of allergies and everything. But let's go ahead and get right into this deck. So, this deck was actually inspired by Jamie the Kid 00's Masked Mermail, and then me and Playmatter Yugitube and we actually kind of took it upon ourselves and just tried to really make this deck into just the potentially really awesome deck that it could be, because combining the Mermail engine with the heroes is just actually really synergistic in a lot of different ways. So let's just go ahead and get right into it, and I can explain a lot of my card choices. So to start with, we have 3 copies of Mermail Abystius. Abystius is just one of your power searchers. The fact that he's a 7-star makes him really important, and, you know, just being able to fetch any level 4 Mermail monster is just so key to just everything in the deck. It's just, oh, he's amazing. And not to mention, it looks beautiful in ulti as well. So to complement him, we have the Lesser Searcher, which is Abyss Pike. Abyss Pike, you know, it's same thing, you discard to summon him, but you can only fetch a level 3 or lower water monster, but that can actually get some things that Tias can't, so we'll get into those a bit later. Next, we have 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Lyn. This is typically going to be your target for the Abyss Sphere when that gets popped, but being able to crash her into anything and then being able to special out a Pike or even a lead if you want a big beat stick is just really powerful altogether. And then the not really newly unlimited, but probably the best card in the deck, which is 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Gun. This, being able to cycle Gun now is just absolutely insane. I mean, and it's never been easier now with this card at 3. It's just absolutely ridiculous being able to take really anything you want back out of your grave and being able to do some crazy plays. This card is nuts. So that's going to be it for the 3-ofs. Then for the 1-ofs, we have 1 Turge. Turge is really good to be able to fetch back your guns out of the graveyard, so you can continuously just gun cycle over and over again. And it's something that Pike really can't do. I mean, Pike can grab gun out of the deck, but Turge is just good if you don't really want to have a handful of cloggy guns. So then we have the Megalo. Megalo isn't that good because 2400 is pretty underwhelming at the moment, but it grabs you an Abyss Sphere, which is kind of important. And being able to ditch 2 water monsters out of your hand is just really good altogether for triggering effects. And then we have the 1 lead, which lead is really just there to be a 2700 beat stick, which in this meta is actually really important because look at Shadal's. I mean, if you have this out and no other Xyz monsters, I mean, it's really hard for them to get around it. I mean, it's really hard for any deck to get around a really big monster like lead without being able to, like, utilize the extra deck or without having to waste a lot of resources effectively. So that's going to be it for the Mermail part. Go ahead and get these out of the way here. Now we're going to go quickly into the little Atlantean engine. We have the 2 copies of Atlantean Marksman. Unfortunately, they're on ulti, which kills me on the inside, but that's okay. 2 copies of Heavy Infantry. Quite simply, Marksman pops face downs, Infantry pops face ups. What's really cool is, too, having Marksman to be able to fetch out your Dragoons on an empty board is just really good for the extra damage and for the just easy +1. I think that's something a lot of people really underutilize with Marksman, but Dragoons is just insane. I mean, I know we all wish, all us Mermail players anyway, wish Dragoons could be back at 2, but we all know how devastating that would be if it were the case. So that's it for the Atlantean engine. Now, for the hero engine. We have 3 copies of Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. So, Shadow Mist, basically, on special summon, is going to net you out a Mask Change spell, which is really important because you can Mask Change Shadow Mist into Dark Law, or you can, you know, take any of this and Mask Change it into Acid, which Acid is arguably the 2nd best or the best masked hero, depending on who you ask. And then the fact, too, that when it's destroyed, it can net you Bubble Man, which is the only other target we play for Shadow Mist. Now, the reason for this is quite simple. Bubble Man's good for a couple reasons. This is essentially your replacement for Aqua Spirit, because Bubbleman does essentially the same thing, except you need an empty hand to do it, but if you can do it correctly, you can just completely go off on rank 4 spam plays with Bubbleman, and worst case scenario, it's just free discard fodder for any of your Mermails, so having just a free way to search out another water monster that you can just easily just dump if you need it is just really good. Especially for when you're trying to maintain advantage. Lastly, we have 1 copy of Tin Goldfish. Now, Tin Goldfish is here for a couple reasons. Firstly, if you open with a Shadow Mist, it's really important that you special summon that Shadow Mist, so Tin Goldfish is a way to do that. Second, Tin Goldfish is water, which means that it has synergy with the rest of the deck, including discarding water monsters, or just really anything, going into Acid even, it has synergy there. And then the third and final reason is that it also has synergy outside of the hero engine, because you can use it and special summon out a Pike, and the Pike will trigger, or a Turge. And just having that ability to accelerate your rank 4 plays, you know, possibly go into like a Dweller or a 101 or an Exciton or whatever it may be, having that Tin Goldfish can actually be really cool. So, I mean, this is kind of an optional card, but I've actually never really been disappointed with it, especially in tandem with the Shadow Mist to be able to ensure you get that search. That's really important. So we're going to go ahead and get those out of here. Finally, we have a really heavy monster lineup. So for the monsters, we have 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is basically like the card of the format alongside Mind Crush. I mean, Trish is a really big deal. And if you manage to get Trish, or, I mean, you need some form of protection from it. And so the only way other than emptying your hand really is to just have Effect Veiler. I would honestly maybe consider bumping this to 3, but every time I've played Necros with this deck, having the Effect Veiler basically is all I've ever needed, because then I Effect Veiler the Trish, and then I just proceed to OTK them on their next turn. So, Effect Veiler is just, it's kind of one of those things you need. You don't really use it as a tuner, although you could if you wanted to, since there's a plethora of level 7s here to mess with, but I haven't really messed with the synchro aspect of Effect Veiler. I really don't feel like you need it, but it's not bad, especially with things like Crimson Blader and stuff. And finally, my favorite tech card of the deck. We run 3 copies of Gores, the Emissary of Darkness. Oh man. Okay. I'm gonna go on record by saying a lot of people are gonna hate me for this, but this card is just nuts. I mean, first of all, the synergy that this has with all your other level 7s, like your Teus, your Megalo, your Lead, oh my god. It's just, this card is just insane. A lot of the time, since this deck does not play any back row whatsoever outside of Mask Change, if you want to count that, and Abyss Sphere, you have no defense. And when you see a little bit later on in the deck profile, you're going to need some form of defense. So essentially, if you don't open a really busted hand, you can just pass and sit on Gores, and basically you'll be fine, because then you'll have a level 7 set up, and then you can proceed to go off with your Teus or whatever other plays that you have. This is just, people, and on top of it too, people don't expect that you're going to be running 3 copies of Gores, so it is just hilarious seeing them struggle, especially once they see the first Gores. They're going to be so afraid to even attack you after that. So 3 copies of Gores, I think it is a wonderful addition to this deck, and it is just so much fun. So that's it for the monsters. It is a very, 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 very heavy monster lineup. So we're going to go to the spells. First off, 3 copies of A Hero Lives. This is exactly why you need to run Gores. The reason for this is getting to Darklaw as quickly as you can is really important, and having this is a really easy way to do that. Now, on top of that, you're setting yourself back 4,000 life points, which is really bad. And if things don't go your way, you might be in trouble. So it's like, Gores is like your insurance policy in case Hero Lives doesn't go over too well. And it's okay though, because, you know, if they clear your Darklaw, they have to use resources to do that, and then they might push for an OTK because you're at 4K, you drop Gores and everything's fine. But being able to really get into Darklaw as quickly as you can, especially in this meta, is really, really, really critical. So next after that, we have 2 copies of Mask Change 2, and to supplement that, 1 copy of regular old Mask Change. Now, Mask Change 2 is quite simple. You discard a card, you change anything into its masked hero form. So essentially, you can turn any of your water monsters into acid. Now, Why is this good? Well, the reason for why this is good is because Miss Gund right here does not require to be discarded for the effect of a water monster. So essentially, you can pitch something to change it into acid. So you say you target, let's just say randomly Dragoons. You pitch your Gund, you special out the acid, and then Gund triggers and gets you back anything in your graveyard, basically mitigating the cost of Mask Change 2, which is just absurd. It is just, oh, the plays this card does, it just facilitates so much more OTK potential, and it's just crazy. You might be wondering why I have the one copy of regular Mask Change. The reason for that is quite simply, you don't always want to pitch the Gund, or you might not have the Gund. And especially if you're wanting to turn Shadow Mist into Dark Law, you might just kind of not want to pitch anything. You might just want to just turn it into Dark Law, get your +1 off the Shadow Mist, and just be done with it. So I've actually found that having one copy of regular Mask Change actually isn't too bad, just if you want to just immediately get that Dark Law on the field. Not to mention, if you have Bubble Man, you can easily just Mask Change Bubble Man into Acid for free. So it's also just, the synergy is just incredible with being able to do that, and it's so easy to do. So we only have 3 more spells, and they're each one-ofs. We have one Book of Moon, which Book of Moon is just really good. Stops the Jin Lock. Really, it can stop Xyz plays. It stops a lot of really critical things. The one Regeki is just obviously board clearing. Since this deck is facilitated for OTKs, like out the ass, Regeki is almost kind of essential. And then we have my other favorite tech, which is one copy of Miracle Fusion. Now, a lot of you who follow along might be able to know where this is going, but yeah. This guy is really easy to bring out in this deck, and just having that one copy of Miracle Fusion to be able to go Ab-Zero and then Mask Change Ab-Zero into Acid to blow out your opponent is pretty nutty, I'm not gonna lie. So I've been having a lot of fun with Miracle Fusion in this deck. Finally, we're just gonna go right into the traps. There's just 3 of them, and it's 3 copies of Abyss Sphere. This card is just nuts. It's MST bait, which makes you plus, I mean, Abyss Sphere is just an all-around incredible card. So that's going to be it for the main deck. Let's go ahead and quickly go into the extra deck. For the fusions, we have 2 copies of Masked Hero Acid. For those of you who really don't know what this card does, basically when it's special summoned, you get to destroy all spell and trap cards on the field, and if you do, all of your opponent's monsters lose 300 attack and defense. Or actually, I think it's just attack, I'm sorry. Anyway, this is amazing because if you have Mask Change, you can end phase Mask Change any of your Mermails or Bubbleman or whatever, summon this guy, blow out their whole back row, which basically against the Teller Knights is like auto win, and then proceed to just go and wreck your opponent's shit on your turn. So Acid is just the nuts. Backing him up, we have 2 copies of Dark Law, which Dark Law is, I mean, your lockdown card, essentially. I mean, he's going to be probably what you're going into more so than Acid, but you're not... Dark Law is just as important as Acid, because being able to have a Macrocosmos that's only on your opponent's field is just critical in so many different matchups, and it can just be such a pain in the ass to get around. And finally, as we've already alluded to, the one Ab-Zero, which just the ability to combo off and go Ab-Zero Mask Change into Acid is just a stupid dumb combo, and I'm so happy that it can be done. That's it for that. And then for the Xyz, we have the one Dweller. Pretty self-explanatory, just wrecking the back rows. Pretty good in this not back row, the graveyard, there we go. The one Bahamut Shark, obviously, this kind of goes in tandem with Trite. Basically, Bahamut Shark's really good because he's 2600, but on top of it, being able to get the Trite to be able to cycle back any of your other Mermails is really, really good. So you never want to run Mermail without Bahamut Shark. One Castel, obviously, Castel is just really good at doing a lot of kooky things. The Exciton for the board clearing, which, again, for an OTK deck is really good. The one Cowboy, this is debatable. I personally like Cowboy just because since you could deal so much damage with this deck, and since the deck has a very core central rank 4 engine, being able to Cowboy is actually fairly easy, and if you can, why not? So I've had a lot of instances where I've gotten my opponent under 800, and just Cowboying them won me the game, where, I don't know what could have happened otherwise. So I feel like Cowboy's a solid choice. The one Gaios is, oh my god, Gaios in this meta is kind of nuts. I mean, negating everything is just pretty much insane. I mean, it's just, Gaios is a beast. I mean, anyone who's played this deck knows Gaios is nuts. The one Big Eye is just stealing monsters. There's nothing else that needs to be said. Master of Blades, I'm actually not running Draco Sack. I'm choosing to run this instead, and for a couple reasons. Against decks like Burning Abyss and stuff, the targeting effects are useless. They don't do anything, whereas Draco Sack is really easily susceptible to those. And the amount of advantage that Master of Blades can generate you is a lot. Like, this card can put in work in the right game state, and so I really, really love this card. Not to mention, you can use this effect more than one time in a chain, because there's no restriction saying once per chain or anything like that, like Exiton. So, pretty good to note, really good card all around. And then finally, the 101. It's water, and it's 101. So, I feel like there's really not any other, I mean, you can maybe run like Diamond King Crab, that's also a water, but I mean, 101's 101. So yeah, guys, that is going to do it. Go ahead and, if you enjoyed this deck profile, you can go ahead and like the video, but other than that, let me know down in the comments what you think about this deck. I mean, I really, really love this deck. This deck, if you want to give it a try, I highly recommend it. It is so much fun. Against the meta currently, as of May 2015, it's actually pretty decent. I mean, the deck is really versatile in the plays that it can do, going from Dark Law into Acid, into how quickly the deck can end a game. I mean, this deck is really versatile, and I've just had a complete blast playing with it and building it all around. So that's going to be it, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.